You stupid black. You think saving some random white woman makes you a hero? Dean Patricia Morrison, white designer suit, dripping diamonds, ripped Emma's hospital papers in half and threw them in her face. You people are like dogs. You don't belong in our university. You skip exams, beg for handouts, then cry racism when we kick you out. Emma stood there destroyed, humiliated, broke, staring at 4 years of straight A's in the garbage, but 3 days later, a helicopter landed in Emma's apartment yard. The woman Emma saved stepped out. She was a billionaire's wife, and she came to destroy everyone who hurt Emma. 72 hours earlier, the day had begun like any other day Emma Bradley had fought through. Her phone alarm screeched through her freezing basement apartment, vibrating on the wobbly nightstand as if trying to yank her out of bed itself. 23 a.m. Nursing. 4:01 final, 8 a.m. Late entry not permitted. Emma's stomach lurched. She bolted upright, shoved her hair into a bun, and pulled on yesterday's scrubs, still smelling faintly of antiseptic and coffee from her overnight shift at the diner. Laundry wasn't an option this week, not with $340 in her checking account and rent overdue again. As she grabbed her backpack, her eyes paused on the photo taped crookedly to the wall. 9-year-old Emma, smiling at her mother Sarah. This was before pneumonia had swallowed her lungs, before fear of medical bills kept her from the ER, before Emma's world had collapsed in a single winter. "I'm gonna make it." "Mama," Emma whispered, touching the picture. "I'm so close." She stepped into the bitter November cold, Market Street already jammed with commuters. The bus was still 2 blocks away, but she could see it. The Route 21 pulling up, doors flashing open. Emma jogged, then she saw her. A woman slumped against the side of the pharmacy, mid-50s, light-skinned, wearing an expensive coat darkened by streaks of blood trickling from a gash on her temple. Her phone lay shattered beside her like she'd tried to call for help and hadn't made it. People walked past. A businessman slowed, frowned, then kept going. 2 students glanced over, whispered, and crossed the street. Emma's breath froze. Her phone buzzed again, 7:34 a.m., 6 minutes until the bus left. She could still make it. She could still hold on to her future, her scholarship, her shot at nursing school. Just 5 more steps, and she'd be at the crosswalk, but the woman's lips trembled. "Help." "Please!" Emma's backpack hit the pavement. Her knees hit next. Training took over. Calm, steady automatic. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" "Stay with me." "I'm here." The woman's pulse was dangerously thin. Pupils uneven. Skin ice cold. Shock setting in fast. Brain bleed level fast. Emma dialed 911. "Unresponsive female, head trauma, possible intracranial hemorrhage. Send EMS now." Blood seeped between Emma's fingers as she held pressure. Her scrubs soaked through. Her phone screen lit again. 7:38 a.m. Bus arrival. 7:38 bus departure. 7:39 doors opened. Doors waited. Emma didn't turn around. Doors closed. But Emma had no idea that saving this woman, choosing compassion over her own future, was about to unleash a storm she could never have imagined. The ambulance's sirens echoed down Market Street long before the vehicle appeared. Tearing through traffic like an urgent heartbeat, Emma stayed crouched beside the bleeding woman. Her hands steady, even though her pulse thundered. A paramedic jumped out, Rodriguez, tall, sharp-eyed, moving with the speed of someone who'd seen scenes like this too many times. "What do we have?" Emma rattled off symptoms automatically. Head trauma, uneven pupils, blood loss, shock. I stabilized her airway. Kept spine alignment. Pressure on the wound. Rodriguez paused, not at the woman but at Emma, at her blood-soaked scrubs, trembling hands, and the unwavering focus in her eyes. "You did everything right," he said. Another 10 minutes, and she wouldn't be here. As the team loaded the woman into the ambulance, Rodriguez added, "You saved her life today." "Don't forget that." But when the ambulance doors slammed shut and the sirens faded into distance, Emma was left alone on that cold sidewalk, covered in blood that wasn't hers, staring at her phone. 4 a.m. Final exam started 4 minutes ago. Doors locked at 8:01 sharp. Her chest tightened. The air felt too thin to breathe, but she walked anyway. The campus was buzzing when she arrived, students chattering, sipping lattes, laughing about weekend plans. Emma moved through them like a ghost, still smelling of iron and adrenaline. Harrison Hall, in room 402. She reached the door, breath held, through the glass window. She saw her classmates hunched over exam papers. And at the front, Professor Patricia Morrison, rigid posture, diamond earrings catching the fluorescent light. Emma knocked softly, no response. She knocked louder. Morrison looked up. Expression blank, then checked her watch. The gesture was precise, dismissive, deliberate. She turned back to her paperwork. Emma knocked again. Harder this time. Finally, Morrison opened the door, only a few inches. Miss Bradley. You were late. Professor, there was an emergency. A woman collapsed. Head injury. I called. The exam began at 8. It is now 8:14. I was performing CPR, Emma pleaded. Morrison's expression didn't shift an inch. That was your choice. And choices have consequences. I didn't choose. She was dying. You received a 0, Morrison said flatly. Leave the hallway. You're disturbing students. The door shut. Emma stood frozen, staring at the blood drying on her arms. Her future, everything she'd fought for, felt like it had shattered with that single click of a door. When she returned to her apartment, her roommate Destiny was pacing anxiously. What happened? You're covered in... Oh my God, Emma. Emma tried to speak, but the words tangled in her throat. Destiny checked Emma's email. Her face paled. Emma, the dean has already recorded your final as an F. Your scholarship. It's gone. The world... Tilted. Her hands shook. Her chest caved in. Oigiu. Because she stopped. Because she chose a life over a letter grade. But... Emma was about to learn that losing her scholarship was only the beginning of the punishment they had planned for her. Emma stared at the email again, reading the words as if they were written in a foreign language. Your scholarship has been revoked effective immediately due to failure to meet GPA requirements. Outstanding balance. $28,000 due within 48 hours. Destiny hovered behind her, hand over her mouth. Emma, this can't be real. You saved a woman's life. How can they... Policy, Emma whispered, voice cracking. Everything comes down to policy. Destiny paced the tiny apartment, kicking aside empty ramen cups and a stack of worn textbooks. Their place normally felt cramped, but now it felt suffocating. You need to appeal, Destiny insisted. You have proof. You have time of incident photos, EMS reports. Professor Morrison already said no, Emma muttered. She didn't even listen. Then we go above her, Destiny said, fire blazing in her eyes. To the dean, the president, someone, anyone. Emma let out a shaky laugh. I'm a broke scholarship kid with $340 in my account, Destiny. You think any of them will listen to me? But Destiny didn't back down. You didn't leave that woman on the sidewalk. You don't get to leave yourself on one either. Emma wanted to believe her. She really did. But by nightfall, exhaustion wrapped around her like a lead blanket. Still, she clocked into her shift at the diner, because missing work meant missing rent. And missing rent meant losing everything even faster. The place was half empty. The smell of old fry oil mixing with disinfectant. Emma moved robotically from table to table, refilling coffee, delivering burgers, ignoring the sting of dried blood on her wrists she hadn't fully managed to scrub away. A customer flagged her down. Middle-aged man, friendly face, phone in hand. Hey! Aren't you that girl from the video? Emma blinked. Video? He turned the screen toward her. TikTok, her covered in blood. Kneeling beside the collapsed woman. Paramedics rushing in. Caption, nursing student saves woman's life, misses exam. Over 3 million views, comments scrolling non-stop. Hero. University should be ashamed. Why didn't anyone else stop? Emma's throat tightened. She felt exposed, like her worst day was now entertainment. When she returned from the walk-in freezer, eyes red, the man had left a $50 tip on a $12 order. You did good? Kid Emma's hands shook as she folded the bill. It felt strange. How the outside world seemed to see something heroic, while the place she had poured her entire life into saw nothing but a broken rule. Later that night, as Emma finally collapsed onto her futon, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, then answered. Miss Bradley? A voice said. My name is James Sullivan. I'm an attorney, representing the woman you saved. Emma bolted upright. She would like to meet you tomorrow morning, he continued. She saw what happened to you. She wants to help. Emma's breath caught. The woman she saved. Wanted to see her? Hope flickered. Barely. But enough to push against the crushing darkness. But Emma had no idea that tomorrow morning would bring a knock that would change everything, and begin a war she never asked to fight. Emma barely slept that night. She lay awake on the futon, staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to the hum of old pipes and the occasional thud of footsteps from the apartment above. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashing lights, the woman's pale face, and then Professor Morrison shutting the door in her face like she was nothing. But the words from the call replayed louder than anything. She wants to meet you, the woman she saved. The one whose life she held together with trembling hands. What would she even say? I hope you're okay. Sorry I lost everything in the process. By sunrise, an eviction notice had appeared under their door. Thin white paper, taped crookedly. Like the landlord hadn't even bothered to straighten it. Rent past due, $850 pay by Wednesday or vacate. Destiny ripped it off the door. Seriously? Now? After everything? Emma sank onto the futon, clutching her hair. The numbers swirled in her head. Tuition, $28,000 rent, $850 savings, $390, nothing added up. Maybe meeting her will help, Emma whispered, though she didn't know if she truly believed it. Destiny knelt beside her. Emma, this is your break. Even if she just gives you a statement, or speaks to the dean, or a sudden vibration rattled the window. At first, Emma thought it was construction. Then the sound deepened, rhythmic, thunderous. Whoop! 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 The entire courtyard erupted in chaos. Kids ran out of their apartments, pointing upward. An elderly neighbor clutched her rosary. Wind roared between the buildings as trash cans toppled. Emma's breath hitched. A sleek black helicopter descended from the gray morning sky, gold lettering gleaming across its side. Richardson Foundation. Destiny slapped a hand over her mouth. Emma, that's her. That's her. Neighbors poured into the courtyard, shielding their faces from the wind. The helicopter landed, dust swirling in violent circles. The door slid open. A woman stepped out, elegant coat. Blonde hair swept neatly despite the bandage wrapped around her head. She looked nothing like the broken, bleeding stranger on the sidewalk. She looked powerful, intimidating, focused, and she looked directly at Emma's window, as if she had known exactly where to find her. Seconds later, someone knocked on their apartment door. 3 sharp, decisive knocks that carried through the entire room. Emma's hands trembled as she opened it. There she stood, the woman Emma saved. Behind her, a man in a pristine suit carrying a leather briefcase. Emma Bradley, the woman said softly. Emma nodded. May we come in? Emma had no idea that the moment she opened that door, she wasn't just letting them inside, she was stepping into a battle powerful people would do anything to silence. The tiny apartment suddenly felt smaller than ever. The peeling paint, the second-hand furniture, the stack of unpaid bills on the counter. All of it seemed painfully exposed as the woman stepped inside, taking in every detail with quiet, observant eyes. She wasn't judging. She was cataloging, noting everything, understanding everything. I'm Eleanor Richardson, she said gently, her voice low but steady. You saved my life. Emma swallowed hard. Seeing the woman upright, polished, composed, made it difficult to reconcile her with the blood-soaked stranger Emma had held together on the sidewalk. I'm glad you're okay, Emma replied, unsure what else to say. The man beside her stepped forward. James Sullivan, he introduced himself, offering a brief nod. Mrs. Richardson's legal counsel, in Emma's basement apartment. This already felt like a dream she wasn't prepared for. Eleanor's gaze drifted to a small photo taped above Emma's makeshift desk. 9-year-old Emma smiling beside her mother. Her expression softened. You have her smile, Eleanor murmured. Emma blinked in surprise. That's my mom. She passed when I was a kid. I'm sorry, Eleanor whispered, her eyes lingering a moment longer before turning back. Emma, I didn't come to overwhelm you. I came because when I woke up in the hospital, I learned what you lost. Because you stopped to save me. Emma stared at the floor. You didn't owe me anything. I didn't help you for a reward. I know. Eleanor stepped closer, her tone warm. And that's exactly why I'm here. Sullivan opened his briefcase and pulled out a set of folders. We contacted your university, he said. Specifically Dean Morrison. Emma's stomach twisted. You called her? Eleanor nodded. To ask why a student who saved someone's life was punished. Why compassion was treated as misconduct. Her voice sharpened, not angry, but controlled and burning. And what I heard was chilling. Emma hesitated. What did she say? Eleanor's jaw tightened. She said, and I quote, "We don't make exceptions for dramatic rescue stories." Emma's breath caught. Hearing it from someone else, spoken aloud in this room, made it feel even uglier. She called your risk, your sacrifice, your bravery. A story, Eleanor continued, like your future was an inconvenience. Emma hugged her arms tightly around herself. None of it mattered to them. Oh, it matters, Eleanor said, eyes blazing. To me, and to anyone with a conscience. Sullivan slid the folders toward Emma. We've collected your records, he explained. Your emails, grades, attendance reports, and the violation letter issued after your missed exam. Emma looked at the stack, overwhelmed. Why do you have all this? Eleanor inhaled slowly. Because I'm not offering you charity, Emma. I'm offering you a chance to fight back. Emma felt her pulse spike. Fight. Who? She asked. Eleanor met her gaze directly. Everyone who tried to bury you. But Emma didn't yet understand the scale of what Eleanor meant, or how deep the corruption ran beneath the university's polished surface. Emma sat on the edge of her worn futon, staring at the stack of documents Sullivan placed in front of her. The folders looked harmless, thin, neatly labeled, organized, but Emma had the unsettling feeling that whatever lay inside them was heavier than anything she'd lifted in clinical rotations. Sullivan opened the first file. Let's start with the simplest thing, he said. Your scholarship conditions. He pointed to a highlighted line in the policy agreement. Emergencies may qualify for academic accommodation upon submission of appropriate documentation. Emma frowned. But when I tried to show them documentation, Morrison said that it didn't count, Sullivan finished. Except the policy doesn't specify what kind of emergency, Emma blinked. So technically, saving someone's life should qualify? Not should, Sullivan corrected. Absolutely does. Eleanor leaned forward, her tone sharpened by fury. Dean Morrison denied you without even reviewing your evidence. Emma's breath caught. How do you know that? Sullivan opened a different folder. Printouts of call logs, timestamps, email headers. Because her decision was recorded only 42 seconds after your appeal was submitted. He tapped the page. 42 seconds! Emma's stomach dropped. She didn't even open the attachments. Exactly, Sullivan said. She didn't look at the hospital declaration, the EMS report, the neurotrauma assessment, nothing. Eleanor crossed her arms, anger simmering. She treated your life-altering moment like a scheduling inconvenience. Emma shook her head slowly, disbelief swirling with hurt. I thought it was just me, that I messed up, that I should have done something differently. Oh, Emma, Eleanor whispered. If only it were that simple. Sullivan pulled out one last folder, thicker, stuffed with spreadsheets and printed emails. This, he said, sliding it across the table, is everything. Emma hesitated before opening it. Inside were rows of names, students she didn't know. Notes on their appeals, race demographics, committee decisions. 52 students denied emergency accommodations over the past 5 years, Sullivan said. 43 of them were students of color. Emma's throat tightened. That's almost all of them. And the 9 white students? Sullivan continued. And 6 received undocumented, informal exceptions. Essentially makeup exams handled quietly behind closed doors. Emma felt sick, like the ground beneath her had tilted. They helped some students, she murmured. But only certain ones, Eleanor nodded. Privilege disguised as protocol. Sullivan wasn't finished. There's more. Meeting transcripts, audio clips from faculty discussions, comments that show clear double standards. Emma flipped through page after page. Words jumped out at her. We shouldn't set a precedent. Students need to learn responsibility. She always has excuses. Why should rules bend for her? It was a pattern. A deliberate one. A quiet machinery of dismissal. One she hadn't known she'd been caught in until now. Emma pushed the file away, hands trembling. So this wasn't just about me. No, Eleanor said firmly. This is about a system that punishes students like you while protecting everyone who fits their mold. Emma felt something shift inside her. Something between fear and rage. So what do we do? She whispered. Eleanor smiled, sharp. Fearless. We expose it. But Emma didn't yet realize that exposing the truth would ignite a fire the university had spent years hiding, and they were prepared to do anything to silence her. Emma felt like the walls were closing in around her. The folders spread across the coffee table no longer looked like stacks of paper. They looked like evidence in a case she didn't know she'd been living inside for years. Sullivan leaned back, folding his hands calmly. Emma, you have two choices. We can take a quiet approach, internal complaint, slow review, hope they respond ethically. Or, Emma asked, though she could already sense the weight of the second option, or, Eleanor said, stepping forward, we go loud. Emma frowned. Loud? Public, Sullivan clarified. Media, legal filings, students, alumni. Pressure so strong the university has no choice but to listen. Emma's pulse spiked. But if I do that, they'll come after me harder. Yes, Sullivan said, without sugarcoating it. They'll push back. They'll try to discredit you. They may even dig into your past looking for anything to twist. Emma's stomach twisted. I don't have anything to hide. Sullivan shook his head slowly. In my experience, that never stops institutions from inventing things. Eleanor sat beside Emma on the futon. Listen to me carefully. Her voice softened, turning almost motherly. You didn't ask for a fight. You didn't look for attention. You didn't chase headlines. You simply did what was right, and they punished you for it. Emma didn't speak. The silence felt heavy, charged. Eleanor placed a hand on her shoulder. If we fight, we're not just fighting for you. We're fighting for every student who's been pushed aside, dismissed, silenced. You won't be alone. Emma stared at her fingers, still faintly stained from the blood she'd tried to scrub off earlier. I just wanted to become a nurse, Emma whispered. That's all I ever wanted, and you still will, Eleanor replied. But you have to decide. Can you live with what they're doing to others if you walk away now? Emma lifted her eyes to the pile of student names in the folder. Every one of them a reminder that she wasn't the first to be crushed. She inhaled shakily. So how do we start? Sullivan smiled faintly, like he'd been waiting for those words. First step, we notify the university president. We present the data. We make it clear that this isn't a misunderstanding. It's systemic, and if they refuse to act? Emma asked. Eleanor's smile sharpened. They won't refuse. Not when they realize how dangerous we are. She stood, pulling out her phone. James, call President Carver, now. Sullivan's fingers moved across the screen with practiced ease. He put the call on speaker. The line rang, once, twice, 3 times. Finally, a smooth, rehearsed voice answered. This is President Carver. This is James Sullivan, he said calmly, attorney for Eleanor Richardson and Emma Bradley. There was the briefest pause, then a shift in tone. Go on, Emma didn't move, didn't breathe, because she could tell instantly. This was the moment everything began to burn, but Emma had no idea that fighting back so publicly would send the university into panic, and they were already preparing a counterattack that would hit her where she was most vulnerable. Emma sat frozen on the futon as President Carver's voice oozed through the speakerphone. Smooth, diplomatic, and carefully measured, the way someone spoke when they'd spent their entire life avoiding accountability. Sullivan didn't flinch. We're calling regarding Miss Bradley's revoked scholarship and the university's mishandling of her emergency appeal. Carver's answer came slowly. Student matters are confidential. If Miss Bradley has concerns, she should follow the appropriate appeal. She already did, Sullivan cut in. Dean Morrison denied her appeal in 42 seconds without reviewing documentation of a medical emergency, in which Miss Bradley saved a woman's life. Silence. Heavy, uneasy, Carver cleared his throat. We understand the situation is unfortunate. Eleanor's expression hardened. She saved my life. Do you understand that, Dr. Carver? I would be dead if she hadn't stopped. Another long pause, the kind that made Emma's skin prickle. Carver finally spoke. Mrs. Richardson, I'm relieved you're recovering, but we cannot make individual exceptions. Oh, don't hide behind policy, Eleanor snapped, her voice landing like a hammer. Your policy bends remarkably well for certain students. Sullivan slid the demographic file toward Emma, pointing at the numbers she had tried so hard not to internalize. We have 5 years of data, he said. Systemic discrepancies in accommodations. Clear discriminatory patterns. Carver exhaled sharply. These are serious accusations. And fully documented, Sullivan replied. Hospital records, EMS statements, timestamps, internal emails, demographic breakdowns. Emma could practically hear Carver's composure cracking through the phone. We will review the materials. Please allow the administration time to... Eleanor didn't let him finish. No more time, she said coldly. Either reinstate Emma's scholarship and open a review into your discriminatory policies, or the Richardson Foundation suspends all future donations. All of them, Carver inhaled sharply. Mrs. Richardson, we'll expect your decision within 72 hours. Sullivan ended the call. The room went still. Emma didn't know whether to collapse or scream. Her chest tightened, as if the weight of the entire university sat on it. She whispered, What happens now? Sullivan gathered the documents calmly. Now. They panic. But the university didn't wait 72 hours. They struck first. Late that night, as Emma was washing the last of the dishes in the sink, her inbox pinged. She grabbed her phone, expecting a classmate. Maybe Destiny's boyfriend. It was from the university administration. Subject: Academic Standards Review. Notice Emma's blood ran cold. She opened the email. A preliminary inquiry has identified multiple concerns regarding your academic conduct and professionalism. You are required to attend a mandatory review hearing Monday morning. Her heart pounded. Conduct? Professionalism? Concerns? Her hands shook as she scrolled. Failure to attend may result in immediate dismissal. Destiny appeared behind her, reading over her shoulder. Her mouth dropped open. Emma! They're coming after you. The room spun. Her breath collapsed. This wasn't an investigation. This was retaliation. And Emma didn't know it yet. But the hearing they scheduled for her wasn't a review. It was an ambush designed to end her future forever. Emma barely slept the night before the hearing. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined a trap waiting for her. Something she couldn't quite name, but felt deep in her bones. By dawn, she was sitting on the bus, hands clenched so tightly her knuckles ached. Students around her scrolled through TikTok, laughed at memes, argued about coffee orders. None of them knew she might be walking into the end of her entire future. When she reached Harrison Hall, she expected a small office, maybe a few administrators, a polite conversation wrapped in bureaucratic language. What she walked into was a courtroom, a long conference table, 5 stern faces, a university legal counsel already seated. In folder labeled Bradley Conduct Concerns. Emma froze at the doorway. Dean Morrison sat at the center, spine straight. Smile thin and triumphant. The kind of smile a predator gives when the trapdoor finally snaps shut. Miss Bradley, Morrison said smoothly. Please take a seat. Emma stepped in slowly, her heart pounding. What is this? Academic Standards Review, Morrison replied. We have several concerns regarding your behavior, professionalism, and pattern of academic issues. Pattern? Issues. Emma sank into the chair. One of the faculty members cleared his throat. We want to ensure fairness, Miss Bradley. This is not punitive. The stack of printed pages in front of him said otherwise. Morrison opened a thick dossier. Let's begin. Emma braced herself, but nothing prepared her for what came next. Item 1, Morrison said, flipping pages with exaggerated precision. Sophomore year. Late paper submitted 12 hours past deadline. Excuse given, grandmother hospitalized. Professor accepted it despite poor planning. That wasn't, Emma began, but Morrison raised a hand. Item 2. Junior year. Questioned exam key. Insisted answer was incorrect. Professor adjusted after reviewing the issue. That's not misconduct. Emma protested. Morrison made a note. Hostile tone toward faculty. Emma's jaw dropped. That's not true. Item 3, Morrison continued, ignoring her. Freshman year, unpaid parking violation. I didn't even own a car. Dismissed later, Morrison said, smirking. But concerning for patterns of disregard. Emma felt heat rising under her skin, disbelief, anger, humiliation all tangled together. This is ridiculous, Emma whispered. None of this has anything to do with missing the exam. Everything informs character, Morrison replied, voice syrupy and poisonous. And we've determined you display a repeated inability to follow rules. Emma stared around the table. Every face was blank, cold. They weren't here to understand, they were here to eliminate her. Miss Bradley, the university attorney said, folding his hands, we are offering you a resolution. A voluntary withdrawal. Emma's chest tightened. Withdrawal? You leave quietly. And no misconduct on your record. No formal dismissal. And if I don't? Emma whispered. Then, Morrison said, eyes glinting, we proceed with full disciplinary expulsion, which will appear on every future application you submit. Nursing programs do not accept students with such marks. Emma felt the floor drop beneath her. It wasn't a review, it was a threat and a promise. But as Emma stumbled out of that room, shaking, she didn't know someone was already racing to her. Someone who would turn the university's trap into their worst mistake yet. Emma stumbled into the hallway, her lungs burning like she'd run miles instead of sitting through a verbal assault. The fluorescent lights above her buzzed coldly, matching the static roaring in her ears. Voluntary withdrawal. Or be destroyed forever. Her legs wobbled. Her vision blurred. She steadied herself against the wall, clutching her phone with trembling hands. 3 missed calls from Eleanor. 2 from Sullivan. 1 from Destiny. Her fingers shook as she returned Eleanor's call. The moment she answered, Eleanor's voice cracked through the speaker like thunder. Emma? Where are you? Outside Morrison's office, Emma whispered, fighting not to break. They ambushed me. A whole panel. They twisted everything. They're saying I have a pattern of misconduct. They want me to withdraw. Silence. Then Eleanor's tone turned deadly calm. Don't move. I'm sending Sullivan immediately. Do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything. Emma closed her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks. They're trying to ruin my life. They want to mark me as a problem student forever. They're terrified, Eleanor said sharply. That's why they struck first. They're trying to break you before we expose them. But if they expel me with misconduct... Emma's voice wavered. I'll never get into another nursing program. That won't happen, Eleanor said. Not on my watch. But Emma didn't feel reassured. Her chest tightened, breath turning shallow. She slid onto a bench, curling forward, trying to hold herself together. Students passed by whispering. A couple of them stared. Someone pulled out a phone. Recording, maybe posting. The humiliation soaked into her skin. 10 minutes later, Sullivan appeared, coat still half-buttoned. Expression carved from stone. Tell me everything, he said. Emma repeated the hearing word for word, the late paper, the twisted interpretations, the fabricated pattern, the threat. Sullivan's face went red, not with surprise but with fury. A controlled, dangerous fury. This wasn't a review, he said. This was retaliation, intimidation, and procedural abuse. Emma's voice broke. Can they actually expel me? He knelt in front of her, meeting her eyes. They can try. But what they just did? It's illegal. They created a falsified pattern to justify punishing you for filing a complaint. Emma hugged her arms around herself. I don't know if I can keep fighting. I'm tired, I know, Sullivan said softly. But look at me. If you stop now, they win, and every student after you loses. But if you keep going, his voice steadied. We burn their entire system down. Emma wasn't sure she had that kind of strength, but then her phone buzzed again. Grandma! Loretta, video call request, she answered. Her grandmother's tired but loving face filled the screen. Baby, I saw you on the news. I'm so proud of you, Emma's throat tightened. Grandma, I don't know if I can... Yes, you can, Loretta said softly. The right thing is never the easy thing. But you weren't raised to walk away. Emma closed her eyes, breathed, and for the first time since the ambush, she felt the faint spark of resolve again. But even as Emma found her strength, Eleanor was preparing a move so explosive the university would never recover. a move that would turn Emma's personal battle into a national reckoning. While Emma sat on the bench, gathering the shattered pieces of her courage, Eleanor Richardson was halfway across the city and already in motion. She stood in her penthouse office overlooking the skyline, the morning sun cutting sharp gold lines across the floor. Her husband, Victor, hovered nearby, face tense as he read the latest university statements scrolling across the news ticker. "They actually did it," Victor murmured. "They ambushed her." Eleanor didn't answer. Her jaw was locked, her posture rigid. The quiet fury rolling off her was enough to electrify the room. She picked up her phone. "Sullivan," she said the moment he answered, "release everything." There was a pause. "Eleanor, are you sure?" "Yes," she snapped. "Every file, every data point, every audio clip, every demographic statistic, all of it. Send it to every major news outlet, today. That will ignite a media frenzy." "Good," Eleanor said coldly. "I'm done playing nice." Victor stepped forward. "Eleanor, once you do this, there's no going back." She finally turned toward him. "If I don't do this, Emma loses everything. And so will every student who comes after her. No more funding their silence. No more politely requesting fairness." Her voice sharpened. "If they want a war, we'll give them one." Victor nodded slowly. "Then let's burn their house down." Eleanor's eyes flashed. "And let the whole country watch." At 3 p.m., Sullivan hit send within minutes. Every major news outlet received the files, 5. And years of discriminatory accommodation data. Internal emails, audio recordings, meeting notes showing double standards, statistical breakdowns by race, patterns of selective enforcement. Cases matching Emma's, hidden quietly in closed offices within an hour. The first headline appeared, "Breaking, New Evidence Reveals Systemic." Discrimination at major university, then another, audio leaks show. Clear bias in student accommodations, then more, hero student faces. Retaliation after saving woman's life news anchors dissected the numbers. Charts flashed across screens. Commentators debated the university's collapse in real time. By sunset, social media exploded. Justice for Emma was trending nationwide. Students began posting their own stories. Alumni called for investigations. Donors froze funding. Parents demanded answers. Activists prepared protests, and amid all the chaos, Emma stared at her phone in disbelief as thousands of strangers defended her, supported her, lifted her. Yet even as the world erupted around her, the university was scrambling. President Carver issued a cold, vague statement promising a review. But the truth was clear, this wasn't a review. This was survival mode. But the real explosion was coming, because the board was calling an emergency hearing and they wanted Emma to speak publicly. Even as hidden forces inside the university plotted to stop her by any means necessary. By the next morning, the university was in full collapse. Students gathered in clusters across campus, whispering urgently. Screens lighting their faces as they scrolled through the leaked files. Faculty members walked briskly, avoiding eye contact. Security officers hovered near every major building, alert, tense, waiting for protests that were already stirring like a rising storm. Emma walked through it all like a ghost. Her face was on the news. Her story was everywhere. Her name, her grandmother's name, was trending across the country. But none of it felt real. She kept her hoodie up, her backpack clutched tight, her breaths shallow. Destiny walked beside her, glaring at anyone who stared too long. "You okay?" Destiny whispered. "No," Emma admitted. "But I will be. At least she hoped she would." They were halfway across the quad when a man in a charcoal suit approached them with deliberate steps. "Miss Bradley?" he asked. Emma froze. "I'm Robert Haynes," he said, voice deep, authoritative. "Chair of the university board. We need to speak with you." Emma exchanged a stunned look with Destiny. "With me?" "Yes," Haynes said. "There will be an emergency session tonight. The board wants you present to give your account." Emma's chest tightened. "Me, in front of the entire board?" Haynes nodded. "Your testimony is central to the investigation." Emma swallowed. "Is that Dean Morrison going to be there?" His jaw clenched. "She has been placed on temporary leave." Destiny whisper shouted, "Oh, they're scared!" Haynes didn't smile. "Miss Bradley, I want to be clear. The board is not your enemy. But there are individuals on campus who do not want this investigation to proceed. Emma stiffened. What does that mean? It means, Haynes said carefully, that some people will try to prevent you from speaking tonight. The words hit like a cold wave. Prevent her. How Emma's heart dropped. Am I in danger? Haynes didn't answer immediately. That alone was answer enough. But then he added, you will have security escorts. But be vigilant, and do not trust anyone outside your immediate circle. He handed her a sealed envelope. Your official summons! 7 p.m. boardroom hall, and with that he walked away. Destiny grabbed Emma's arm. Girl, this is bigger than big. They're plotting something. Emma pressed a hand over her racing heart. Of course they are. They can't let me testify, not after everything Eleanor exposed. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a text from Sullivan. Stay with Destiny. Do not walk alone. We're coming now. Another from Eleanor. Don't be afraid. They're desperate, not powerful. Emma inhaled shakily, trying to steady her thoughts. Tonight, she wouldn't just be a student defending herself. She would be the voice they tried to bury, and she wasn't going to let them. But as evening fell and Emma prepared to face the board, a shadow moved behind the scenes. Someone who had everything to lose, and who would take drastic action to silence her before she ever reached the hearing room. Evening descended like a warning. The campus, usually buzzing with chatter and laughter at night, felt tense and electric. Groups of students gathered near the main walkways, holding signs, filming updates, demanding accountability. Some chanted Emma's name. Others whispered it like she had become a symbol bigger than her own life. Emma didn't feel like a symbol. She felt like a girl with shaking hands and a heart that wouldn't slow down. Destiny paced the apartment while Emma dressed, anxiously tugging at her sleeves. You sure you're ready? Destiny asked for the 5th time. No, Emma admitted, tying her hair back with trembling fingers. But ready or not? They're expecting me. A knock sounded at the door. 3 sharp taps. Destiny jumped. Who is it? It's Sullivan, a familiar voice called. Destiny opened the door to reveal Sullivan and 2 private security officers in plain black suits. They filled the doorway like a protective wall. Sullivan stepped inside, all business. We moved together. No detours, no stops. No conversations with strangers, Emma nodded. Does the board know I'm coming? Some do, Sullivan said. Some don't want you there. A chill ran up Emma's spine. Which ones? Doesn't matter, Sullivan replied. We just need to get you inside the boardroom. The officers motioned for them to move. The group made their way down the dim hallway of the apartment building. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead. Somewhere distant, a door slammed. Footsteps echoed from above. Emma's senses sharpened, hyper-aware, strained. Once outside, the air hit them cold. The black SUV idled at the curb, engine humming like a restrained growl. And behind them, Emma noticed something strange. A figure standing partially hidden between 2 cars, not moving. Not leaving. Just watching. Do you see that? Emma whispered. Sullivan followed her gaze. A shadowy silhouette, maybe male, maybe female, stood rigid, face obscured by a hood. They didn't approach. They didn't turn away. They simply stared. One of the officers subtly shifted closer. Into the car now. Emma obeyed, sliding into the back seat. Her skin prickled as the SUV pulled away, tires crunching over gravel. When she looked back, the figure was still there, watching, tracking, waiting. Was that someone from the university? Emma asked, voice unsteady. Sullivan hesitated, something he rarely did. It's possible, he said quietly. After the leaks, some people have a lot to lose. Emma's pulse hammered. Destiny reached over and squeezed her hand. Whatever they're planning, they're not stopping you. Emma nodded, steeling herself. Because tonight wasn't just about telling her story. Tonight was about confronting people who never expected her to speak at all. They pulled up to the massive stone building. Security lined the entrance. Reporters swarmed the sidewalks, flashes exploding like lightning. As Emma stepped out, the roar of voices hit her like a wave. Emma! Emma, look this way! Is it true they tried to force you out? Do you fear retaliation? Are you safe here tonight? But above the chaos, something else caught her attention. Figure standing across the courtyard. The same figure, still, watching, still unmoving, still waiting. Emma's blood ran cold, and just minutes before the hearing began, someone inside the university would make a move so dangerous, so desperate, that Emma's life would once again be thrown into the balance. Boardroom Hall towered above Emma like an ancient fortress, stone pillars, echoing arches, and tall glass doors that reflected the swarm of cameras outside. Reporters pushed against barricades, shouting questions, while security held them back. Emma moved through the chaos with Sullivan on one side, Destiny on the other, and two black-suit security officers leading the way. Every step felt heavier than the last. Inside, the air shifted. It was quieter, colder, controlled. The marble floors reflected the overhead lights like a mirror. Oil portraits of past university presidents lined the walls, their painted eyes following Emma with chill indifference. A receptionist looked up, startled when she recognized her. "Miss Bradley, the board is expecting you." Sullivan nodded. "Lead the way." They started down a long corridor, and that's when it happened. A man stepped out from the shadows near a side hallway. Fast. Intentional, as if he'd been waiting for them. Tall, broad shoulders. Slate grey suit, university crest pinned to his lapel, but his expression wasn't professional, it was panicked. Sweating, unhinged. "Miss Bradley," he said quickly, blocking their path. You can't go in there." Sullivan moved forward instantly. "Step aside." The man shook his head violently. "She doesn't understand what's happening." "They're not going to listen. The board's furious. They think she embarrassed the entire institution." Emma froze. Who are you?" "Student Conduct Administration," he said, voice trembling. "I've been in those meetings. I've seen what they're planning. Tonight's hearing, it's not for your testimony." Sullivan narrowed his eyes. "Then what is it for?" The man swallowed hard, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear. "It's a decision meeting. A final ruling. They're going to pin everything on you. The leaks, the media, the disruption on campus. They want someone to blame, and you're the easiest name." Emma's stomach dropped. "But I didn't leak anything." "That doesn't matter," the man whispered. "They're desperate. If you walk into that boardroom, you're walking into a coordinated verdict." The officers stepped in front of Emma protectively. Sullivan's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. "Why tell us this? Why risk your career?" The man looked directly at Emma. Something haunted in his eyes. "Because I've watched this university bury students for years," he breathed. "And for the first time, someone is fighting back. You can't let them break you before you even speak." Emma felt her pulse hammering. "So what should I do?" He leaned closer. "There's a reason the boardroom doors are locked from the inside. Once you go in, you're trapped," Destiny hissed. "This is insane. They're actually setting her up." The man nodded, fear twisting his features. "I shouldn't even be here, but if you're going to walk into that room, you need to know exactly what they intend to do." Before he could say more, a sharp voice echoed down the hall. "Miss Bradley?" "The board is ready for you." Everyone turned. A senior administrator stood at the far end of the corridor, smiling too wide, and staring straight at Emma. The man in the grey suit whispered urgently, "Be careful. They're not done hurting you." Emma didn't realize it yet, but the moment she stepped through those boardroom doors, the truth would explode in a way no one could control. And someone inside that room was waiting to betray her. Emma stood before the towering boardroom doors, her heartbeat pounding in her ears like war drums. The administrator at the end of the hall waited impatiently, arms crossed, that eerie, too-wide smile carved into his face. Sullivan leaned in close. "You're not alone. No matter what happens, we'll counter every trap they try." Destiny nodded fiercely. "And if they try anything, I'm going full WWE on someone. I don't care who." Emma almost smiled, almost, but the warning from the trembling man still echoed in her mind. "Once you go in, you're trapped." She inhaled deeply, squared her shoulders, and stepped forward. The doors opened with a heavy groan. The boardroom was enormous, long oak table, velvet chairs, portraits of founders looming like judges from the past. Every board member sat stone-faced, files stacked neatly in front of them. Light poured in from the tall windows behind them. casting Emma as a silhouette in the doorway, small, alone, but standing tall. President Carver sat off to the side, face tight with quiet panic. Dean Morrison sat beside him, pale and furious, her temporary leave clearly not keeping her away from the shadows of this hearing. Emma stepped forward. Sullivan and Destiny remained at the back, refusing to sit. Board chair Robert Haynes stood. "Miss Bradley, thank you for being here. Please take a seat." Emma sat, but she did not shrink. "Before we begin," Haynes continued, "we want to clarify that this is not a disciplinary hearing. This is a fact-finding session based on the evidence released to the public," Morrison scoffed. "Evidence that was stolen." Haynes held up a hand sharply. "Dean Morrison, you are here as an observer. You will not speak unless permitted." Her face twisted. "Good." Haynes opened the session calmly. "Miss Bradley, do you know who leaked the documents?" Emma spoke clearly. "No, but I do know that the information in them is true." A board member with slicked-back hair leaned forward. "Miss Bradley, the university suffered significant reputational harm. Students claim you encouraged the leak. Did you?" "No." Steady, unshaken. Another board member added sharply, "There is a rumor circulating that you orchestrated the media frenzy." Emma's breath caught. "Why would I sabotage my own future?" Then Morrison leaned forward, eyes gleaming, "Because you wanted attention." The room went silent. Morrison continued, voice low and venomous. "You failed an exam. You lost your scholarship. Conveniently, a dramatic rescue and media scandal appeared at the exact moment you needed sympathy." "Enough!" Haynes barked, but Morrison wasn't finished. "She has a pattern." Sullivan slammed a file onto the table. "Her pattern came from your office." "A pattern you manufactured." Gasps, whispers across the board. Carver tensed, shifting uncomfortably. Sullivan shoved the file forward. "Timestamp evidence, emails, revisions to her record made after she filed her appeal. Internal notes labeling her problematic before any investigation." Haynes flipped through the documents and froze. This is tampering." The board erupted. Morrison's face drained of color. "This is taken out of context." "No," Haynes said sharply. "This is corruption." Carver tried standing. "Let's not rush," but Haynes interrupted him. "We've seen enough. Dean Morrison, you are suspended indefinitely pending full investigation." "President Carver, your leadership will be reviewed immediately." Chaos spread through the room. Murmurs, outrage, shock. Haynes turned to Emma. "Miss Bradley, your scholarship is reinstated. Your record is cleared. And I formally apologize on behalf of this institution." Emma's eyes filled with tears, relief, anger, vindication all crashing at once. Destiny ran forward and hugged her tightly. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually did it." Sullivan placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. "Today you changed more than your own life." Haynes spoke one final time. "We will restructure our entire student conduct system. Because of you." Outside reporters waited, not for a scandal, but for a hero. When Emma stepped out, the crowd erupted. Students lifted signs. People chanted her name. Cameras flashed like stars. But Emma didn't raise her hands or bask in the attention. She simply whispered, "I just wanted to be a nurse." And now, because she refused to be silent, she would be. If you enjoyed this story and want more powerful, emotional narratives just like this, make sure to subscribe to Black Girl Storytime. Hit the like button to support the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. And share this story with someone who believes in standing up for what's right. Your support keeps these stories alive.